Hello everybody, and this lesson we're going to talk about biology. This is the biology lesson 1, Prokaryotes and Eukaryotes. This is the first lesson in biology and the third video in the series Science. So this video will be all about prokaryotes and eukaryotes. I hope you enjoyed this video and please subscribe for more. Let's dive in with some key facts. Prokaryotes versus eukaryotes. So firstly, we need to know that the cells are the building blocks of all living organisms or all living things. For example, plants, animals, bacteria, they're all made of cells. So, well, these are the most basic matter which makes up everything. Cells are either prokaryotic or eukaryotic. So prokaryotes is a bacterial cell and it is very small. It is like 1 to 10 micrometers or 0.00000 to 0.00001 meters in diameter, which is quite small. Way bigger than atoms, but really small. Anyway, this word is made up of two parts: pro, which means before in Latin, and karyot, coming from karyos, which means core in Greek. And prokaryotic cells are only made of one cell, which means they are unicellular. So all bacteria, they have only one cell. What about eukaryotes? Eukaryote is nearly the opposite of prokaryotes. It is an animal or plant cell, and it is way bigger than eukaryotic cells, like 10 to 100 micrometers in diameter. So it's like 10 times. This word is also comes from Greek words. So eu means real in Greek, and karyot means core. So prokaryote is before core, and eukaryote means real core. So what's the link in that? Actually, if you study the history of our Earth, our living organisms began from bacteria. Then they slowly became some birds, animals, plants, and to the end humans. So actually, prokaryotes are all the fathers or the ancestors of all living organisms. So, well, they are prokaryotes. They're before. Eukaryotes, why are they real? I don't know, but they are kind of what we see every day. I don't know. And eukaryotic living organisms, they are made of more than one cell, so they're multicellular. So like we as humans, we are made of so many cells. We have blood cells, red blood cells, white blood cells, and huge amounts of them. That's why prokaryotic animals are smaller than eukaryotic animals. Okay, let's go. Animal and plant cells. So now let's dive into the structure of the cell. So we don't need to say. Animal and plant cells may contain many things in their cells. So there are loads of things, but we are only going to talk about the main ones. So firstly, the most important is the nucleus, which is in the center of the cell. It contains the cell genetic material, DNA. It also controls the cell's activities. For example, if it orders the cell to move forward, the cell will then move forward. It's just controlled by the nucleus. It's like a control center. And nuclei is arranged in chromosomes, which are instructions to make new cells, and also used in reproduction. And now let's talk about the second thing, which is a cytoplasm. A cytoplasm is a gel-like substance. It makes chemical reactions with enzymes, which we will talk about in our further science videos. And the cell needs the cytoplasm's chemical reaction to survive harsh conditions, and which is really, really important. Because you see, if it can't endure a harsh environment, it will just die, and the chemical reactions have it endure with it, so it makes the next generation of the cells even stronger and makes the cell itself stronger. So it's important. And the cell membrane, which surrounds the cell, it keeps the cell together and moves things in and out of the cell, and like it intakes food and oxygen and goes out and it lets out carbon dioxide, for example. And although there are other parts of the cell, such as ribosomes, mitochondria, etc., it's not really very important. And they are important in the cell, right? But we don't need to learn about them now. We'll learn about them in further lessons. So don't worry. Bacterial cells. And now let's go to prokaryotic cells, which are bacterial cells. And bacterial cells also have a cytoplasm, a cell membrane, a cell wall, and ribosomes, like plant and animal cells. And their function is kind of like the same. However, they do not have a nucleus, but only a circular strand of DNA, also containing genetic material, in the center of the cell. So the nucleus also contains extra genes, which lets the bacteria survive harsh conditions and also reproduce. So these genetic strands can also let the bacteria reproduce also from harsh conditions like antibiotics. Most bacteria die from antibiotics, but only some with these extra genes. With these genes very strong, they can survive the harsh conditions. But we don't want that. We don't want the bad bacteria to survive the harsh conditions, and we want to kill them. But well, that's its functions. It doesn't want to die. Also, some bacterial cells may also have flagella, which are hair-like extensions and help the cell move forward. Treating bad bacteria. Now let's go to the moment I've been looking for. Killing all the bad bacteria. So bacteria are good and helpful, but some of them are. So there are millions of bacteria now. Can you believe it? There are millions of bacteria now in your stomach, and they're helping you digest food right now. And there's millions of bacteria in your bloodstream. There's millions of bacteria on your computer, on your keyboard, and surprisingly, most of our foods like yogurt, yeast, etc. are made by bacteria. However, not all bacteria are good. So there are bad bacteria such as E. coli, which could let you get food poisoning. So we have to get rid of all these bad bacteria. So how do we get rid of them? So you take antibiotics, of course. So what does antibiotics do? Make it clearly, you know that antibiotics can treat the cells. Actually, there are chemicals. When they get in the cell, they will break the cell wall. Bacterial cells also have a cell wall. Okay, so you might ask, why would the bacterial cells accept something into their cells which will destroy them? Well, bacteria don't know that antibiotics are harmful to them. They think it's tasty, yummy food. So they take it in and they explode in a few seconds. And why does antibiotics work? Actually, because they have no harm to human cells. Us human cells, because we're animal cells, we have no cell walls, and only bacterial cells have them. So we're safe. So that's why we can use antibiotics. And if we had another type of antibiotics which would break the cell membrane, we won't dare use it because it could break our cell membranes too. So animal and plant cells versus bacterial cells. What can be new here? Nothing. We're just going to show you some diagrams. A bacterial cell, so you can see the ribosomes, cytoplasm. Oh, that's the cytoplasm. And you can see there's a cytoplasmic membrane in the middle. And there's a flagellum, cell wall, capsule. Actually, the Phylli, plasmid, capsule, you don't need to know these. These are just for high-grade stuff. We're doing GCSE stuff. We're not doing A-level. And this is an animal cell. We don't need to talk about the cross-section. It's not important. Okay, there's the cell membrane, there's nuclei, nuclear membrane, mitochondria, ribosomes, cytoplasm. All these other things like centrosome, we don't need to know that anyway. That's A-level stuff. I got these pictures from Google, and not from GCSE textbook. They're all from Google. Plant cells. Okay, so you can see the cell membrane, ribosomes, cytoplasm, cell wall. There's a nucleus. So, well, that's everything. And I hope you learned a lot from this. So, what about viruses? So, we have all endured COVID-19. I have got infected. I'm well now anyway. So, what about viruses? So, you might think that viruses are either prokaryotes or eukaryotes. Some of you might think, okay, it's prokaryotic. So, it's because it's small. Viruses are actually smaller than bacteria, some of them. So you might say, okay, teacher, what about viruses? Actually, surprisingly, viruses are neither prokaryotic or eukaryotic. So you might say, it's a living organism. No, it's not. It's not even a living organism. So what's the point? So viruses hijack other cells in order to make copies of themselves, but they do not have cells on their own. Okay, they do not have cells. So that's the most important point. They must have a living organism must have cells in order to make it a living organism, or else it's dead. And they also need the 7 most important capacities for organism to be living, or else it's dead. So why is let's say my computer is not living? Because these 7 points. So movement, okay, viruses can move. Some of them can. Sensibility, okay, viruses can sense something. Reproduction, oh yes they can, but however, they can't respirate or generate energy, grow up, get rid of waste, nor can they intake anything. So, well, viruses are not living. That's so strange, because they have reproduction, they sense something, they can move, but they can't reproduce, grow, get rid of waste, or eat anything. So that is hilarious. That is really a big problem scientists have been debating on. Are viruses living? Well, it's not, but how can it not? Yeah, it's not a living organism, but how can it not live if it can move? Okay, so that's why my computer here, recording this, is not living, because it cannot eat anything, it cannot get rid of waste, it can't grow, it can't move by itself, it can't generate, and actually it can generate some energy. It can't reproduce. Computers better than computers, no. It also can't sense anything, or except the mouse. Okay, so that's why we can say some things are not living from these 7 factors, and you need to memorize them for GCSE. So viruses are not living organisms. I think I've struck you. This is really, really strange. So this is the end of lesson 1, Prokaryotes and Eukaryotes, and this is also the end of the first lesson on biology. I hope you really enjoyed this video, and please subscribe for more, and we will boost your knowledge to your extent. Thanks for listening.